Time is one of the most valuable resources we have. You get a set amount of it from the start of your life to the moment you log off this mortal server forever. So, it can be really annoying to feel like your time is being wasted on things like navigating some dinky slinky menus only to be met with dragging performance and sudden load screens that take what should be a simple task and make it an obstacle course of baloney and clown foolery. Or how about when you're just looking for a place to get some new armor in a game and you go, oh, I know, I'll check my map. So you open that bad boy up and you get met with a sea of impossible to distinguish icons hovering over every inch of land begging you to go get some feathers for some orphan kid or something. That is some bad user experience, aka UX, which is usually a result of some garbage user interface, aka UI. So today, let's talk about both UI and UX to see what works and what feels like marmalade being smeared on your controller in real time. When it comes to video games, there are really two kings of absolute jank UI and UX, Microsoft and Ubisoft. The two soft bros are collectively responsible for roughly 60% of all poorly designed or optimized user experiences. Okay, so obviously that number is made up and isn't true, but still, they are largely responsible for some truly astronomically bad design choices. Microsoft is the king of making things needlessly complicated and difficult to navigate. The most obvious example comes from its long line of Microsoft Windows products. From the convoluted slog that was Windows Vista to the painful to work with panels of Windows 8, every iteration has come with some level of serious problems. But all of that pales in comparison to what Microsoft did to the Xbox interface. When the Xbox first launched, it was the new kid on the block, a chunky boy that seemed almost like alien technology placed in your living room. Loading up this bulky box was like stepping into the future of what games could be. Boldly designed menus electrified with this neon green color really sold this concept of a gaming machine so powerful it's barely holding itself together within the box. The ease of access and navigation in these menus is a far cry from more modern Xbox consoles though. Some heathen of a designer at Microsoft began to pray to the panels as their new god and designed Windows 8 fully around them. These clunky, slow-moving, hoinky-splinky looking squares weren't just awful to look at, but also dragged your computer's performance down to a crisp 12 frames a second. And unfortunately, the horrifying echoes of these boxified garbage flaps can still be heard to this day. The Xbox One systems fully embraced this buffoonery and made one of the most difficult to navigate set of panels and submenus that make it so that you need a freaking map to find your way through. Thankfully, the newest consoles, the Xbox Series S and X, have mostly revamped this design, though not enough to save it from the unbelievable scuttled corpse of panels. Meanwhile, on the other consoles, we went for a much more streamlined crossbar menu, still using boxes, but ones that were persistent. You go to a game, you drop into its box, then everything you need for that game is right there under one menu. Click, play, repeat. No ragged pit of submenus to get lost in. This is a solid user experience because the stuff you're looking for requires very little explanation. Microsoft should learn from this. But console and PC home screens aren't the only place we find these troubles. No. In the land of video games, there are many, many ways in which your UI can make or break your game. When it comes to making the Rolls Royce of UI, there are generally three schools of thought. Less is more is more, and performative UI. Let's start with the worst offender here. More is more. A concept that seemingly laughs in the face of the expression too much of a good thing is a bad thing, then does an ollie off the side of a very steep cliff. In this category, there is one undisputed king of cluster, Ubisoft. Ubisoft has been icon splattering our maps and overpopulating our heads-up displays or HUDs for you e-boys and girls out there for more than 30 years. You can see this more is more mentality when you look at the maps of games like Assassin's Creed, where every vantage point comes with a veritable onslaught of new nerve-rending things to do, resulting in a map that feels less like a tool and more like an attack on the senses. Likewise, the fine folks over at Ubisoft love a good notification, sometimes resulting in screens that not only obscure gameplay, but also overwhelm you with information and sound. Oh, good! I leveled up in the middle of this battle. It's a good thing I'm not trying to see what's going on. On the other side of the equation is less is more. Games that have very little information on screen can simultaneously increase their cinematic appeal, making their games feel more movie-like, but they'll oftentimes confuse new players and even old players by making no information available to them ever. Games like Black Myth Wukong that take its graphics to the next level leave the UI set to minimal, and this can be a good thing depending on how you like to play the game, or a bad thing depending on if you want to know what's going on. But UI doesn't have to feel like gargling gravel. A well-made user interface can elevate an already great game. So what makes a good UI? A good user interface will tick off the boxes in these 4 categories: ease of use, visual appeal, narrative importance, and consistency of design. A great example of an excellent user interface is in The Last of Us. The crossbar design has Ellie or Joel digging through different pockets in their backpacks, inherently dividing your inventory into sections that make sense. Need to swap weapons on the fly? Go ahead and tap that arrow button, get yourself a shotgun, son. Need to heal up real quick? Go ahead and tap that arrow button, get yourself some band-aids. Persona, on the other hand, goes for the more visual appeal with a consistent design that makes instantly recognizable layouts that are intuitive. The absolute drip on these menus and HUDs are insane. I mean, look at this artwork. On a more basic level, a good UI doesn't have to be over the top. It should just be non-invasive and fit into the world design. Halo's Master Chief rocks a classic HUD with a radar to ping enemies, your weapon and ammo count, and a visual indicator for your health and shields. No fluff needed here, and it feels naturally like what you'd see if you were rocking the green Spartan Machine's armor. A good UI elevates your gameplay and should never distract or impede it. In conclusion, UI artists and designers are perhaps some of the most fundamentally important devs we have on any team when it comes to whether or not a game is going to feel good to play. With layoffs happening more rampantly and these kinds of design choices being threatened by things like AI, I just felt it was a good time to point them out. So go out, research who the artist is behind your favorite UI or UX, and sauce them a message on social media letting them know how dope you think their work is. For Hardwired, I'm Andrew Hamilton.